G'day everyone, welcome to Living My Best Life, the podcast. I'm your host Jake and I'm lucky enough today to be joined by Michael. Hey Michael.
Hello, how are you, Jake?
I'm fantastic, how are you?
Good, thank you. It's Monday, so I'm always happy on Monday.
And with a coffee in your hand.
Beautiful. Yes.
Lovely. So for those at home or driving in the car, can you give a bit of a down low on who you are and kind of what you do at Richmond?
Sure. So my name is Michael Elwin. I am General Manager Outreach in Richmond Wellbeing. I've joined Richmond December 2020. And since then, I've moved across different roles in the organization. So I started first as an operations business manager, and then general manager service quality and innovation, and now general manager outreach. In my portfolio, I have 10 programs, one of which is the Living My Best Life. Yeah.
Yes. So you get to manage what my team does?
Well, no, not necessarily. I think I'm really, I would say I'm really impressed by what my teams are capable of doing. So it is less of management and more of leadership, I would say. But it's really, it's been really enjoyable experience.
Lovely. Well, I'm glad you find working with me enjoyable.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Today's topic is around cultural inclusivity, especially from the perspective of not just who are working alongside and our clients and helping them apply for NDIS and that kind of thing, but also increasing our cultural awareness from the company side of thing. And it's where, from the company side of things, once that's built up and that awareness, inclusivity and acceptance is there, that we can best support our clients and the people that we work for.
Which is a very, very important topic to talk about. And I like the way that you looked at it from the company point of view, which will cascade down to how the team members are dealing with each other, which will cascade down to how the team members are dealing with our clients. Yeah, I like that. And let's go back one step and start talking about culture. What culture actually means. It's the collective of people's values and languages, symbols, religion, all that sort of things combined together gives you the definition of culture. And any organization in the whole world, any organization has its own culture. And each workplace would you go and work with or work at, it has its own culture, right? So when we look at Richmond Wellbeing here, the first thing that I noticed when I came here for an interview in December 2020 is that I remember I came here and did the interview upstairs, and then I had to go to the bathroom after. On my way to the bathroom, I found two doors. For the bathroom has two doors. One of them has a sign of a male, and it says male, and the other sign that has all genders, which was quite interesting. I felt when I looked at these signs, I felt, that's a very inclusive place. So as I said, symbols in cultures that's how you can actually experience and see culture, right? Through symbols
Yes.
like that. We have trainings in the organization, and all that is great. But unless we adopt and start to internalize what we learned in these trainings, then it will be just an hour or 2 hours of someone talking and people listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The proof's in the pudding.
Exactly.
It's not only if we listened during the so-called training, but it's whether we live that out and have accepting conversations and an eagerness to learn and to have the bathrooms and there's physical evidence of that acceptance and diversity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And diversity comes in different shapes and forms, as you know. So you have diversity with regards to gender, diversity with regards to sexuality, diversity with regards to ethnicity. You have many different types of diversities, right? And if we want our workplace to be an inclusive workplace, I would start by doing it yourself. Start by being an inclusive person. Don't start to think about, oh, they need to be inclusive to me. I need to see that happening. I need to see that happen. What about you? What are you going to do? Every single person in the organization, no matter what is their roles, they are capable of making a change. They are capable of making the environment where they work a good environment or a very bad environment, right? So we wake up in the morning and start getting ready for work and come to work and spend the most of our day at work. So you have the option to make it a good place, enjoyable place, or you have the option to make it a really bad place, right? And that is where culture comes into play. The moment you or someone else start to behave in a certain way that's against what the culture or the collective agreed upon, the moment you will become an outsider. And that's why it's really important to have a very healthy culture in the workplace. Because if you have a healthy culture in the workplace and you have a team member who does not show and live up to the standards and values of this culture, they will not fit in. And they will not be able to continue working in that place.
Yeah. And when we have, clients coming in that we're helping
Yes.
or assisting with or working with, whether they already have a plan or they're applying or anything in between, they can feel that difference. If there's kind of a cohesive culture of
Yes.
acceptance, or if there's not, and
Yes.
they'll feel that straight away.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? It's also when we talk about diversity, when we talk about people from cult diversities, and for example, I believe you said you were born and raised in Australia, right?
I was born in Darwin.
You were born in Australia,
Yes,
in
yes,
Darwin,
yes.
and raised in Australia, and your main language is English, right? Okay, so let's think about it this way. Imagine if you took a flight and went to another country. Let's say my country, Egypt, right? They speak Arabic there. Very rarely you will find someone speaking English, not that common. So you went there to work, right? And then in your workplace, everybody there is Egyptian. Everybody there speaks Arabic. Everybody there has their own culture. You became one of the minority, right? You became part of the diversity of this culture. How would you like to be treated?
Treated with openness.
Yes.
And it's not about, I guess, if I was going in that workplace in Egypt,
Yes.
about them knowing all about Australia and
Yes.
knowing all about my culture, but being open to learn and being accepting of what my culture is, regardless of what it is.
And that's what we want people to experience here. Whether they are clients, whether they are staff members who are coming from different backgrounds, be it linguistically and the diverse backgrounds, or be it different sexual orientation. So this is exactly what we want people to experience. Feeling welcomed, feeling that people are interested to know in them. Because imagine your feeling when you were virtually in Egypt there, like living there, and feeling like, I want to feel included. I want people to start, engage with me. Exactly the same feeling here with others. Others. That's a word that we need to avoid. Others. There is no others. You see?
Yeah. At the end of the day, we're all human.
Exactly.
And we're all wanting the same things.
Exactly. Add to that the intersectionalities. Add to that a person from a culturally and linguistically diverse background who are experiencing a disability, who are also part of the LGBTI community. Do you know that person who actually have these sort of things are actually experiencing lots of difficulties in each one of these domains? So being from a cultural linguistic diverse background, they are experiencing a culture around them which is different than what they used to most of their life, maybe some of their life, many years. They are also, if they are experiencing disability, they are also finding barriers. Finding barriers in the system, finding barriers with, depending on the disability, communicating, whether be able to have the opportunity to enjoy activities like everyone else. Add to that, if someone is if someone is part of the LGBTI community, lots of discrimination happening. Lots of discrimination, lots of unacceptable behavior towards a fellow human being in this world and day and age. Yes. I would even say that with regard to disability, the hardest one of them is the invisible ones.
The psychosocial disabilities.
The psychosocial disability. Because people don't necessarily know about it. So you live with this disability, carry it all your life, wherever you're going, and people don't even notice it. It adds more burden to people.
Yeah.
It adds more burden.
And in the disability space, especially if we're helping people, we tend to naturally learn the most with what our job requires us to. So in the disability space, we might research disabilities, we might study it and learn most about it so we can help people with that. But just focusing on that alone isn't enough, because that's not the whole person. People are more than just their disabilities.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why a bit of disclosure here. My mom, she was diagnosed with schizophrenia when I was young, and she ended her life when I was young. And I remember the stigma about talking about my mom's mental illness, the fear, how people perceive me, how people will think of me. And I remember that it's also difficult to live with this mental illness, you know? And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make people feel empowered, make people feel capable, and because they are capable to recover. This is why you look in our values here in Richmond, which I deeply resonate with. Hope. Hope is one of the main values that I really feel like it should be universal value. Everybody should have hope.
Yeah.
You know? And that's our role here, to give people hope.
And for what they're hoping for is different for everyone.
Yes.
Whether it's to beat my CEO at cricket, which I failed to do over the weekend, whether it's going to the shops, making friends, finding a job, just making it through the day. You know, our role is to help people achieve their hope.
Yes.
And it's different for everyone, but we need to understand and be open to learning the whole person to be able to support them reach their goals.
Yes, yes, the whole person, exactly, that's the point, the whole person. So especially we go back to culture, language as part of the culture. So when you talk about someone who is experiencing a disability or living with a mental illness, as a worker, do not talk about that person from a deficit point of view. So I hate it when I hear someone say, this person is she's schizophrenic. You cannot say that about someone. That's not right. You cannot say that. This person could be a father, a mother, could be a brother or sister who happens to being experiencing or diagnosed with schizophrenia. Why would you just eliminate everything about that person and focus on their mental illness? As you said, it's just one aspect of their life. It does not define them. Does not define them. And that's why, as workers, when we work with people with mental illness, we need to be mindful of that. We need to be mindful of the language that we're using, the way we're talking with people, the verbal and non-verbal ways of communicating with people, and we need to acknowledge the power imbalance that we have between them and us and our clients or our consumers. There's a huge power imbalance there.
Yeah, and it's really hard when you're especially going through the application process, because a lot of the language that you need to be able to use for the NDIS to understand and to give funding and to accept your application is that more detriment focused, kind of what someone can't do. And so when you're assisting someone where they've not only got to deal with their disability, but also face possible discrimination for their culture and what they believe in and their sexuality, it's a lot to deal with. And so if we can really accept all of who they are,
Yes.
and kind of support them go through it, and that yes, this may seem like a step back, but it's for the steps forward that the NDIS can help you with. It's a bit of a conundrum when you've got to use some a bit more harsher language, but it's because we care for people that we have to use it to then access the funding on the other side.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I really hope that it changes. Speaking about hope,
Yeah.
I would hope that this changes in the future. The way we look at people who are experiencing mental distress, it's purely now a deficit focused, and I hope this changes because recovery is actually a reality. It is not something that we are dreaming about. It's a reality. Recovery from mental illness is a reality. There's a difference between cure and recovery. Recovery is a reality, right? And when you look at people and start to consider people who are experiencing mental distress as there is no hope for them to recover, that's not right.
No,
That's not right.
not at all. Especially when they're experiencing different barriers in other areas of their life. If we're just adding to that with the language that we use or how we kind of work alongside them, it can suck. It really can. Which is why we've got to be open and accepting of all who someone is.
Yes.
I worked alongside someone in my previous work who was an Aboriginal mentor and got alongside people and helped them. And he has a physical disability. However, when he was looking for support workers, the few that he had weren't accepting and didn't want to interact with that part of his culture and who he was. So he gave up. He doesn't work with the system in terms of doesn't use his funding. I don't know if he still has it. I haven't talked to him recently. But it goes to show that being accepting of who someone is for all who they are is important. And when we don't, it can have not the greatest consequences.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a really good example to explain this point of view, but it's really sad example because that's the last thing you want to have, you know, in our industry, in our the reason that we are in this industry is that we want people to be able to be empowered, to be able to be fulfilled, to be able to achieve their dreams and goals.
Yeah.
Be that person is your colleague at work, be that one of your team members, be it your client, everyone you are engaging with,
Yes.
you want this to happen. And that's why we are in this sector. We are not in another sectors that we are mainly focused about money. We are in the human or community service sector for that reason, right? So it goes against what we believe in and what we aspire to do when you experience something like that. And when we talk about also people from different cultures or from various backgrounds, it is really important that it's a message I would like to send to everyone who is working in the field. If you're working with someone from a culture different than yours, I would encourage you to approach that person with curiosity. Don't be afraid to ask a question. Don't be afraid to check. Don't be afraid to look online to learn more about this. There are plenty of resources online that tells you about different cultures and what are their values, what are their norms, what language do they speak, what's okay, what's not okay. It's good to learn. We need to move away from being ethnocentric, which means you're focused only on your way of doing things and think that this is the right way of doing stuff, to more inclusive, right? So you approach things with curiosity. I would love people to come and ask me, hey, Michael, in your culture, do you do this way? Do you do that this way? Is it okay to do that in your culture? I actually respect the person who asked this question.
Yeah, yeah.
100%. We are humans. We love to be asked and engaged about ourselves. Who doesn't want to talk about themselves?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, who doesn't want to share something about themselves? Humans love doing it all the time, right? So approach people from different culture, different backgrounds, and with curiosity, with asking. This is the first step to be inclusive, right? The first step to be inclusive is to have this curiosity.
Yeah. There was an example in one of the training sessions where there was an Aboriginal person who had a disability, and there was a lot of shame in the culture that they came from, and the family wasn't wanting to kind of work with disability services because of the shame associated with that. And so the team that was working with them kind of increased the knowledge of the whole family and met with them and talked about it and built up that knowledge. And there was slowly an acceptance that the support might be an option. And then later down the track, there was unfortunately a death in their family. So they went country to go through and process that as a part of their culture. And I think a big part of when we're working with people with disabilities in different cultures is that I have a way of how I would approach it if I was coming from someone else's perspective. But it's not about how we would approach it. It's about accepting decisions and different choices that everybody makes. Because as you said, at the end of the day, there is one reality, but we all view it in different ways and through different lenses and different scopes. And it's about accepting all of that, not trying to work through so that I can get a benefit or because it's what I want to do. It's about accepting everyone and the choices they make. And I don't believe that person ended up re-engaging with the services. But that's fully their right. That's fully their decision. And it's about accepting all of that.
Yes, and this touches on the notion of dignity of risk. The opportunity or the authority that someone should have with regards to their life, with regards to their well-being, with regards to any aspect of their lives, really, that they can make a choice, they can make a decision. The NDIS love to put it as choice and control. Yes. So yes, people definitely need to have this this power to make decisions about their own selves. And when our role here is just an advisor, we are advisors. So if I'm working with a client and I notice that this person is about to or thinking about doing something that I feel like they're not going to be happy after, I cannot prevent them. I can't. They are human beings. I cannot restrict them, you know? But what I can do is I can speak with them about, let's think about this, the pros and cons of this decision. What would happen if you go ahead with that decision? What would happen if you don't go ahead with that decision? Do you really want to be there? Or do you want to be on that way? And then you leave it up to them. The dignity of risk. You leave it up to them to decide, right? Of course, there are exceptions to that, you know, where you would have to do something. But I'm just talking in general. So with regards to the stigma, especially in our field, the psychosocial field and mental illness, the stigma about talking about mental illness is huge, and it could prevent many people from accessing the NDIS, for example. So how would we approach that? We approach that with an open mind. We approach that with creating a safe space to our clients to speak up about what they are experiencing. This will start only when the workplace we work at is a safe space for us to talk about our challenges. It cascades, right? So if you go to work and know that your work is a safe space for you to talk about, I've been experiencing lately some depression, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling down. You speak with your colleague and you know that your colleague is not going to judge you. It's a big motivator for you to start feeling that you are empowered, feeling you're happy in that place. And when you're happy in that place, you will bring your whole self to that place. And when you do that, you will help your clients to bring their whole selves into working with you. and that makes a better outcome for everybody.
Yeah, although if we're in a place where we just try to have the fruit straight away, it might not be the most productive thing. Where if we have those strong roots grounded in acceptance and diversity and curiosity to what's different to ourselves, then the fruits are that. And so when we're working with people outside of our organisation that come to us or we go to them, then those fruits are sweet and juicy of amazing, human relations.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it, variety. Variety, when you talk about fruits, imagine if there's only one type of fruit.
That'd be boring.
Boring, right?
Yeah.
And that's why there are many types of fruits.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. There's many types of people and different cultures and different backgrounds and different orientations. That's the beauty of nature. That's the beauty of life. So approach it from this way. Not only from a professional point of view, but how can I support this person for the application, the NDIS application, and that's it? No. Look at it from a personal point of view as well. What can you learn from that person? When you engage with someone from different culture, from different country, you are actually like in a trip to their own country for free without even doing it. So when someone speaks with me, what the food there in Egypt looks like, and I'll start talking about the food, it's as if like they traveled to Egypt and saw it, right? When I tell them the pyramid is huge, when I'm traveling the desert road highway, 1 hour just before reaching to the pyramids, while I'm driving 100 kilometers an hour, it's really long distance.
Yeah.
I can see the pyramid touching the sky up there.
Far out.
So I just shared this with you now, and you imagined it.
Yeah.
You see, it's quite powerful when you do that.
I'm hoping it's a 100 kilometer hour per zone, not an 80 kilometer per hour zone as you drive.
Well, it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's from that point of view, looking at things from that point of view will make you feel more motivated, I hope, and more empowered to do that, to learn more about people.
Absolutely. And even when someone's sharing maybe some negative experience or barriers and you're seeing it through their eyes, they're now not going through it alone, you're there with them.
Yes.
And when they're sharing it and you're listening and you're taking it in and you're working together, it's not just them against the world. They don't have to face exclusion from you. And then that can become a positive experience. And if we can just give someone a positive experience when we're working with them, the world will be such a better place.
Absolutely.
Especially in the NDIS kind of industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Michael. Every word you've spoken has been full of wisdom and wit and a bit of humour as well. And I'm sure everyone at home has appreciated it as well. So thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure, Jake. It has been my pleasure talking to you, and looking forward to hear more and more about the project.
Absolutely. And for everyone at home, thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. And we'll see you in the next episode. See ya.
See ya.